Hi, I'm so excited to introduce you to today's guest. I'm speaking with Emily Galloway from Sunday Jungle in Townsville in North Queensland. Emily has grown her business from quite a small little business, which was pretty much like a market stall, into a large, well-known business in a really trendy little spot in Townsville. And she shares some insight into what it's like running a business in a regional area, and also a few little fun anecdotes about, just life as a florist. And I hope you enjoy our chat with Emily. Hello and welcome to the podcast, Emily. It is so exciting to have you here. I have been a follower of what you've been doing for quite a while now, and I was super excited to invite you as my guest because I think your story on how you grew your business from quite a humble little beginning into a quite a large business these days is really exciting, and I'd love to share that with our listeners. So
Yeah. Thank you for having me for a start. I'm so excited to be here. Yeah. I too have been following you for a while, and I've been watching everything you do, and the journeys that you've gone on overseas and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I was very excited when you asked me. I was like, oh, yes, of course. Yeah.
awesome. No, it's always good to connect with another flower loving folk is what I think. So, but yeah, I'd love for
Absolutely.
you to start and maybe let us know how you started in this flower journey. Like, what was it that got you into this whole flower world?
Yeah. So from the very beginning, a lot of people assume that I started, when I was a child or when I was a teenager, I went straight from school, but I really didn't. I was working, I didn't start floristry until I was nearly 30. So I was in my late 20s, married, children, one child at that stage, was working full time in hospitality. And I am really grateful that I did hospitality for as long as I did, because I feel like that's why I am the way I am today. But it wasn't for me. In the end, I found it so soul destroying. And I was having a bit of a quarter life crisis, I suppose, if you can call it that. I was saying midlife crisis, but I was like, oh, that's probably a bit not fair.
Yeah, well, you sort of sound like about the same age as I got back into floristry. So yeah, I think it's that first child you start to rethink, what the hell am I doing with my life?
100%, because you're thinking, well, what do I want to leave behind? What sort of legacy? What sort of what am I doing with my life? You only get one life. What's going to fill my cup? What's going to make me happy? So and I've always been really creative, and I've always loved flowers. I would always buy them from the supermarket, and play with them at home. So, and I always gardened and all that kind of thing. So it wasn't that much of a stretch, but I was having a really awful week at work. I was crying in the car to my husband, just having this huge big meltdown. I vividly remember it. That's how it sticks in my brain. And we pulled up at the traffic lights, and I was like, I'm so done. I need a new job. I can't do this anymore. And we pulled up next to a flower delivery van.
Oh my God, it was destiny.
It was destiny, because we kind of looked at each other and looked at the van, and I went, why don't I do floristry? Why don't I do flowers? And he was like, well, yeah, why don't you? So that's literally how it kind of came about. And I kind of put myself in the deep end. I kind of just put myself out there and fake it till I make it. And I kind of go, oh, just do it and then see what happens. So I went home, I Googled, floristry courses in Townsville, how to be a florist, because I didn't know any florists. This is a whole other. And I think I asked a family friend of mine whose sister-in-law was a florist, because that's the closest connection I had.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, yeah, that's perfect for you. Of course you could do it. And I Googled it, and up popped Flowers to Impress, because they're just so amazing for regional areas.
Yes.
And I thought, I'll just send an email. We'll see what happens. If I don't hear back, well, at least I can say I tried. I've done it. I've sent away
Yeah.
an email. Let's see what happens. And probably within an hour, I got a phone call from Debbie, the owner of the school. And it was just a lot of like universal things by chance, I suppose, because he said, "Oh, darling, we have a class starting in Townsville next week." And I'm like,
Oh, wow. So
"Oh,
you didn't even have any time to go,
no,
nah, not really for me.
no." And I'm so glad I didn't, because I would have been in my head about it. And I kind of was on the phone
Yes.
to her. I was like, "Oh, I don't know. I don't think I'm good enough to do it. You come along and just see what happens." Oh,
Yes.
I've got a
She has a
small.
way with just inspiring you that little bit, doesn't she? It's like, oh, I'll just give it a go.
So much so, because I gave her every excuse and she came back to me with a solution, to the point where I was like, I've run out of excuses. I have to do it. Because I think I said to her, "Oh, it's so expensive. I've got a small child. Darling, we worked out a payment plan." I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah.
okay. All right." And so I went along. It was literally the week later. And it sounds really cliche, but I walked in and I found my people. Like, I'm still such good friends with everyone in that first class that I had.
Because you would have been, were you one of the first classes through the Townsville school?
Yeah, the very first class.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it
So yeah, that was a
it
good
just
group, that one.
yeah, and we were, I think, might have been about 8 of us maybe, and I'm still friends with the majority of them. And it just, I'd never met such a group of women that I could relate to so well. Like, we were all watching Better Homes and Gardens on a Friday night. We were all watching Better Gardening
You
Australia.
found
Yeah,
your
I
flower nerds.
found my
They are great,
people.
aren't they?
They are. And you sort of go through life. And I don't know, like hospitality, everyone's very cool. And I wasn't going out clubbing. I was,
Yeah.
sewing and watching Gardening Australia.
Lots of
So
florists sew as well. Oh my God, you found your creative community.
really did. And just that sense of, community, I really found like-minded people. So obviously I went through the flowers course. I went to Europe with Debbie and a lot of the flower class, which was just amazing. And yeah, from then I started from home. I got a job at a flower wholesaler, which just sort of really immersed me into like the regional, North Queensland
Yes.
flower market. And yeah, just sort of started doing monthly markets, market stalls, doing things from home. Got affiliated with a little cafe. She bought my flowers every week and sold them on for me. Just like very slow growing, very organic. And then, yeah, one thing led to another. And here I am with this massive big store and about 5 staff members.
Yeah,
So I'm like, I don't know
awesome.
how that happened.
But I think, as you said, when it's that natural progression, in some ways, it feels right at each sort of step. And,
Yeah.
you sort of grow with it, which is, fantastic. I'd love
Yeah.
you to tell us a little bit about your current business,
Yeah.
Sunday Jungle. I love that name.
Yeah.
Can you tell us where did you
Yeah.
come up with that name?
I get that question all the time. It's so my husband is such a big part of the business, and obviously I've hit the jackpot with my husband. He's yeah. I used to be called Flowers by Miss M,
Yes.
and it it helped me at the beginning, and it was my identity, and it's what I did, who I am. But when I started to grow that bit more, and I was, my husband was working with me as well, and I needed a new name that was going to grow with me and to
Yes.
not box me into a corner. So we sat down one day. I just had my second son, and we were thinking of where we wanted the business to go. So we sat down and we did a big mind map, and which is just basically
You
a
are a planner.
brainstorming.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, not really. Only when I have to. My family call me fast and loose because I don't really think about things. I just like, let's do it.
I'm like that. Yeah. I like to say I'm reactive.
Well, Well, yeah, I suppose maybe that's it too. Yeah, maybe that's a nice way of putting it. So we got like a really big piece of paper. We just wrote down all the things we wanted in a business, all the things we were, all the things we liked. And it just, at the end, you look at all the words and you put it together. So
Yeah.
we have 2 sons. So, and Sunday is my favorite day of the week. There was like sons, Sunday. We'll spell it like the day of the week to make it easy for customers because that's a big thing.
Yes.
Big thing. And, jungle, we love plants. We love gardens.
Yeah.
I love that lush jungle green. And yeah, just 2 words that don't normally fit together seem to fit together perfectly. So
Yeah, they do. And you're right, they do reflect this feeling of good vibes. Like
yeah,
I love the name. I just
yeah,
when you swapped over and I'm like, oh my God, that is such a cool name.
yeah. And I soundboard, like my family is much a part of my business as I am because I soundboard everything to them because they're the people that are not yes people. They're going to give me critical feedback.
Yes. Yep.
And I put it out to them, Sunday jungle. And I didn't get any pushback. So I was like, oh, okay, we're on to a winner here. Okay. There's no everyone loved it across the board. So yeah, that was
that's great.
yeah,
Name.
it is. And
I was going to say, so what does a typical day look like now at Sunday Jungle? What you said you have 5 staff, I think, like what's your business sort of look like now?
So I have young children. So predominantly I start the morning as most mums do, as a mad rush, getting everyone out the door, try to get to school, try to get to daycare on time. Most mornings I aim to be there before we open at 9, but it's okay.
Someone else has a key just in case,
yes.
Right? Yes, perfect.
So I have the most beautiful staff members and I have girls that open for me, set up the shop. I come in. I haven't left the workbench at this stage. I'm still very much so.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and I love it and I can't not. I love the customer interaction.
Yeah.
So I do help out with orders depending how busy we are, the staffing situation. And then I'll wander off and do admin. But I find myself coming out and serving customers just because I love a chat, essentially.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing with so many of us when we start in a floristry business. I know myself particularly, I was like that. You do it because you love the craft and you love being on the workbench and you love that interaction with your customers. And then the other side of running a business is so much, and you don't sometimes understand. Yeah, you don't understand what's involved and how much time that can be. So it can be tricky. Like, do you have any, tips for people on how you can juggle that? Or is it just like you're just winging it and making it happen?
I don't know if I'm the right person to give tips because at this point, I don't think I've mastered anything particularly well. I'm still learning a lot of things. I suppose this is the part where I'm really grateful for my time in hospitality because a lot of that, it was admin based. So I did a lot of.
So you had that foundation in like organizational side of things.
Yeah, and talking to people and talking to suppliers and emailing people. And a lot of people like panic making a phone call, but I thrive that. I love that. Like I love cold calling people, which is so bizarre.
Oh my God, you need to come work for me. I hate that.
I know people do. And I love it. I don't know. I'm such a weirdo that way. So yeah, I don't have it down pat yet. And I do find myself leaning towards more of the creative side of things.
Yeah.
But I do want to have a successful business and a profitable business. So I have to put in that work behind the scenes. And and I do get a lot of satisfaction of working out what's going to work and, that sort of boring admin stuff as well.
Yes, yeah. And
I don't have any.
That's all right. But as we were saying, like before we even started recording, you're talking about planning for your Valentine's Day, which is, coming up soon and stuff like that. So obviously that's a big part of what you have to do. And, it's just, what you do. So,
absolutely.
You said that your husband is a big part of the business as well. So is he involved in the day to day, or is he just sort of there as emotional support, sort of on the side?
It depends. It depends on the time of day, really. No, he's been really, really good. Like, he actually did a short course in floristry as well.
Okay, cool.
So he can make a bunch of flowers, and it's so interesting to see, like, his perspective as this, bloke make flowers, because, like, I remember saying to him, stop holding it so tight. Baby fingers holding it okay. You don't need to strangle them, just like blunt baby hands. So yeah, he's been very instrumental in the business as well. He's just, we have the same goals and the same endpoint with the business. So
Awesome.
he steps up where if I can't at home, he's there, or vice versa in the business. Like, he's, if I've had a really long day at work and we've had freight come in late, he'll just say, I'll go to your freight. Like, it's all good. So he can definitely step up, and he has been very good. These days he's back chefing full time. He's a chef by trade.
Okay. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's handy when you've had a late night as well. Hopefully you have a lovely dinner.
Well, no. Do you have nice flowers in your house every week?
True. Yeah. I've got the stagnant vase sitting on my table at the moment.
Me too. I don't know if you can see, but me too. He does cook at home, but only because I'm such a bad cook, and if he can't, a bit of a control freak in the kitchen. He's like, what are you doing? Why are you doing like that? So that's probably, I'm very lucky that he does cook at home. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, that's great that you've got someone there to support, because, it is such, as I just said, like, it's such a big thing when you take on a business, and especially, as you said, you're growing yours to quite a substantial size now. So having that support is, instrumental in success. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, especially with children.
Oh, God, yeah. Hey, now, tip on that, it does get easier, because I've done that whole thing through with little children. It gets easier. Yeah. They turn into teenagers, and then they leave home. So, at that point, it's great.
Yeah. Well, my sister's got teenagers, and you barely see them. They're always in their room. So I'm like, okay, well, at least at that point, they won't really care if I'm home or not, right?
Yeah, exactly. As long as you've got food for them.
Yeah, exactly.
So, it does get easier.
Yeah. That's good.
With having a florist shop in sort of a regional area, and this is sort of part of the reason I wanted to talk to you, because you could bring a different perspective of some of the additional challenges that you've got to face. I've had most of my working life in sort of regional and remote areas, and I've sort of got a bit of an understanding of that. But some people really don't have any idea of what you have to do what you do. Are you able to give us a bit of insight of some of the sort of challenges that you have, particularly obviously around sourcing your product, and even things like finding staff in sort of a smaller, like Townsville's not way small, but it's still a nice sort of place, really. So I'd love to sort of hear a little bit more about that.
So I have only ever been in Townsville for my career, so I guess I can only comment on what it's like here. But we do have to plan ahead a lot, and the main problem is we are so far away from flower growing regions, the nice pretty ones that everyone in North Queensland wants anyway.
No one wants tropicals, I know.
No, they don't, and I get it too, because we can grow it in our backyard. I'm not going to come buy them from you, and I can literally grow them in my backyard. So that is a big, and trying to manage the cost of getting the flowers here, finding the cheapest ones, the ones that are going to be the freshest, logistically. Like, for instance, this week we had a funeral Wednesday, trying to source the flowers. I only found out about the funeral on Sunday, thinking logistics, okay, well, if I order, I have to get it by air freight. Which is the cheapest air freight? What time can I get it in time for me to make the arrangement for my customer to receive it? So it's definitely a challenge of having to, like, if we sell out of flowers, we've sold out of flowers. I can't just run down to,
There's
the
no
flower
market
market.
to pop
There's
to.
no market to pop to.
Exactly.
And and also knowing what you want in advance, because like we have to plan for, what might be happening next week. So I don't know who's going to walk through the door, but I'm going to order all this stuff in the hopes that it sells. I can't just
And
duck
exactly,
to the market.
You can't just add more. Can you
Yeah.
let people know how you actually order? I'm assuming you're like
Yeah.
most of us other regional florists, like, because you
Yeah.
don't, as you just said, you don't get to walk into a market and be blown
No.
away by these beautiful flowers. You want to sort of give a bit of insight of actually how you
And
do it.
yeah, and a tiny part of me is a little bit grateful that I can't just walk to the market, because I would go so over budget. I would just be like, oh, I'll have one of everything. But so a little part of me, yes.
I like that you're optimistic about that. Like there's like an upside to it.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's like when you do online shopping, you can sort of cull. Yeah. So we predominantly use Brisbane as our suppliers. There's multiple wholesalers in that region that we order through. I am really grateful for WhatsApp groups. A lot of the suppliers and growers now will send through what they have every day on the floor, and you can just sort of go through and go, oh, I like that.
Yeah. So you're basically just looking at pictures. Like you can't, smell, touch, anything like that. You're just hoping they're sending you, a good picture of, that represents that product, the best way.
Yeah. And trying to form relationships with your suppliers and having that person who also follows what I do and knows my style, knows what I like. Yeah. So I have some suppliers that go, oh, I've picked this for you because I think you might like it. What do you think? Or I know it goes with your style, your vibe. So we're gonna send it in the box. I know you'll love it. So,
and that's important, having that relationship, isn't it? That they know, because you have your own style. If they're sending you product that doesn't sort of match in with that, then it's so hard for you to sell it. Which at the end of the day, you can't have it.
That's what
around.
I got to do. Yeah, and I feel like I've definitely, I wouldn't say being burnt, but I've definitely had relationships with suppliers that, you're spending all this money and they're just not sending you good quality things, or they're not sending you what you wanted. And then you kind of go, well, I'm trying to run a business. I can't, I've got to have trust in them that they're picking things for me. So I suppose that's the biggest challenge, is having trust in someone in another state a lot of the times picking your flowers for you. So
and that they're going to understand you enough and want to help you, to get you exactly what you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you want to share? I like to sometimes letting people know how much you pay in freight. Like what would just once, like a box. I know, like I work out, like for most of my orders, depending, but I'm paying not quite 100. I think it's about $80 a box in 2 cans, and then I have to do a 3-hour return trip to pick it up. So that's just one box. Like what sort of, you're adding that sort of value, or are you able, obviously you're probably shipping a lot more than me, you might get slightly better rates, but it does add quite a significant amount to a box of, a bunch of flowers. Sorry.
Absolutely, it does. And that's the thing, like we have lots of people come in from out of town that will go, oh my gosh, these are so expensive. I think, well, if you were to fly to Melbourne 2 times a week, it would definitely add up to like that's essentially what I'm doing. I'm getting, so I work out and I do add the cost of the freight to my bunches of flowers.
Yes.
So it adds out depending on what I buy, because a lot of it goes on weight as well.
Yes.
We are trying to organize going with road freight, refrigerated road freight.
Yes.
From Brisbane, which is over an overnight trip. So things like natives, foliages, things that can handle, the trip. We are trying that with road freight, which is a fraction cheaper, not drastically, but that sort of goes on volume as well. So if I could, if I was selling a pallet of natives, then that would be definitely beneficial.
That's the hard thing again, isn't it? Because, again, like your shop isn't that big that you're going to buy pellets on pellets to get that good rate. You're sort of in that range where you're still paying by box per box, and it just adds up so much.
The majority of our stuff does come with air freight. So yeah, I am.
Yeah.
I think I've worked out to be adding like 60 cents, depending on what it is per bunch, to cover my freight. So yeah.
No, that's not too bad then. Yeah.
Yeah. Or sometimes it's,
but it does add up.
$1,
But then there are other
$1.50.
times.
Yeah.
I was going to say, yeah, there'll be other times like, you know, you used to use that funeral as an example where you need something quite specific because obviously you want to do the best for that order and you might have to get a box shipped up. So, you know, there's all that needs to come into it. So
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it does definitely it all adds up. And you know, my time backwards and forth through the airport and like it just definitely adds up.
And then the delays that happen, you know, the amount of times that you're like, okay, you're watching the manifest. Yep, it's due in at whatever, 12 o'clock.
Yes.
And next thing, no, it's not going to be here until 5. You're just like,
yeah, or they've pushed it off. They've you know, and like,
oh no, it'll come tomorrow. It's like, well, I sort of needed those flowers today.
Absolutely. And big events like Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, it always happens because everyone's getting the same flowers the same day. So yeah, you definitely have to equate for the delays in the airlines. So
and they're things that are completely out of your control, but they will add, you know, they're just next level stress, to be honest. Like,
absolutely. Especially when you've got clients who are already really emotional about a funeral or something like that, and you're just adding more bad news to their day by going, I'm so sorry. I promise these roses will
yellow roses. Yep, they're not gonna be here now. Like
that's it. Yeah, like I'm honestly doing my best, but
no, that's always like a huge challenge when you're in an area that you don't have easy access to, you know, a wholesaler or a flower market or anything like that. How did you find you know, with your team of florists or, you know, people that you've got in your shop? How did you find most of them? Were they qualified, or did you sort of, you know, find them because they were the right fit and then sort of work on training them? Like, what's your approach to getting good staff?
So I've been really fortunate that I have stayed in contact with a lot of the girls that I went through when I qualified. So my head florist at the moment also qualified the same time I did.
Awesome.
And she's amazing. And I have this thing that I try to hire people that are better than me because
I love that.
because, you know, it makes my business better. And also I don't have that competition, you know, so so a lot of my girls are better florists than I am. I will say that. So I'm very fortunate with the girls that I have. I do have a trainee who she was a nurse previously, just wanted a different change of life, and I respected that for sure. So yeah, she's currently doing her traineeship, and she was very green but very adaptable.
I assume like she's an adult, obviously. She's had a previous career, so she's going to have all the life experience behind her as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So. And obviously having an ex-nurse, nothing's going to rattle
handy.
her.
Your first aid kit's going to be amazing.
It's great. And every like medical question, like, why am I feeling like this? What's wrong with me? Oh, well, with my children, I'm like, do you think of you hearing?
That's awesome. She comes with perks.
She does. Yeah. So a lot of my girls, to be honest, I've found through word of mouth as well. Like I've got some good industry friends that I will reach out and say, hey, I'm looking for a florist. Can you recommend anyone? Do you know anyone that's looking for a job? And then we also have a lot of people that come in with their resumes. I've got a girl that's just started this week. She's come from another florist that someone had recommended her to me. So yeah, I am predominantly qualified florist. I do prefer. But that doesn't necessarily make or break a good florist, you know. Like
I like that. Yes, I acknowledge that too. Obviously, I'm, you know, all for the qualification, but there are people that come through who are amazing and don't necessarily have it. And that sort of, you know, they can pop together a beautiful design. It speaks so much more than just a piece of paper. So
yes, absolutely. So it's all about gauging the person. And my team, I've worked really, really hard at making sure that we are all the right sort of personality and the right sort of customer relations and that sort of thing that I want for my business, because at the end of the day, they're representing me, and I've worked so hard that I need to trust that these people that I'm employing are going to present me in the best possible way.
Yeah,
Not
that
only,
is so true.
yeah,
Yes.
and
Because
not
it's
only
your
like
culture
flowers.
that you want to build, and you want people
Mhm.
to, you know, have a memorable experience when they go in
Yeah,
there. Because
absolutely.
they can get flowers anywhere, let's be honest.
Oh,
And it's
and it's a
the
luxury item, you know?
experience. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm good on you. Oh, yes, it is. It's a luxury item.
Yes,
It needs
it
to
is.
feel like a luxury item.
100% it does, yes.
And part of that is that service that goes along with it, because they don't need
Yes.
to walk into your beautiful shop. And if they're not getting that interaction and that, you know, that beautiful engagement,
Mhm.
and that sort of level of service that they, you know, expect, then
Yeah,
why would they come back? So that's really,
exactly.
really important. And I'm
And
glad that, you know, you're
yeah.
acknowledging that and you're doing that with your staff. It's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely a big deal breaker. Like, you can be the best florist, but you also need to be able to interact with customers and provide that next level of customer service. So,
Yeah, because I've seen some amazing designers who start out in floristry, but other areas sort of don't have that same standard, and it just doesn't work, and it's not, you know, it's not great, unfortunately. So, what on a fun note, as I said,
yes.
like I've always been in rural and regional areas, and I've
Mhm.
had to do some pretty crazy shit to get the job done sometimes. What would be one of the craziest things you've had to do to just get your job done?
I don't know if I want to publicly announce anything. This may be held against me at a later stage. I don't know. Look,
Think of something less full on then.
nothing criminal, I promise. Florists are really resourceful people. Like, we are very,
Yep.
if you have a pickle, you want a florist on your side, because we can get our way out of a lot of things. Um,
Yes, we've got a good way of thinking outside of the
there,
box.
a thing that, a memory that pops up for me is a few years ago, we had did this wedding, and I got like a boilermaker to make me these custom flower stands. And it was the very first time we used,
Beautiful. Maybe.
it was the first time we had used them. And in hindsight, I probably should have tested them. We didn't. So we did this huge, big floral installation. It was taller than me. It was massive, in this church. We made it. It was full of roses, beautiful flowers, thousands of dollars. We had to transfer that from the church to the reception. As we are transferring it, the whole base snaps. Like, just snaps. And it was so heavy. We were like panicking. Okay, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? We had
Didn't have a welder in the back of the car.
no. And we had like half an hour to get to where we had to go. So we went back to the shop. We were sort of laugh crying, because in that panic state, what do you do? Like, it's funny, but it's also, these people have spent thousands of dollars.
You need to get this job done, because holy shit, like you can't have no flowers at the
No, they're paid
reception.
for, like these, and it was like right at their as a entry point. Like, it was, and then we were going to move it to behind their thing.
Yeah, they can't not notice that it's not
Exactly.
there.
And so, and we're very professional. Like, people trust us for their big day. So we went back to the shop, and I was sort of panicking, and we were looking at like broom handles, but it was just so heavy that we're in a shopping arcade, and they have these hand sanitizer stations, like on a pole.
Yes.
I nicked one of them. I went
I
to the
love
toilet
it.
because I didn't know if I was going to vomit. Walked past one and went, I'm gonna take that. So we unscrewed the hand sanitizer, like the things.
Did security come along at any point and go, excuse me, what are you doing?
No, and at that point, had someone said, "Oi, what are you doing?" I probably would have gone, "I'm just going to borrow it for half an hour. Like, just please, you don't understand. Like, just, I promise I'll pay you what it's worth. Just let me steal it." So I nicked that. We cable tied it. We sandbagged the base so they wouldn't have been able to tell. Yeah. And then a few days after the
Perfect.
wedding, it came back to us and I rejigged it and no one was any the wiser, I don't think.
Did anyone even notice?
No, no one's ever said anything. So that's
Awesome. There's some guy in security watching a video, like a, what do you call it? Like
CT.
the CCTV going, what is this crazy florist?
Oh, and we were nearly peeing our pants with laughter while we're doing it, as well as crying. Like, it's such an emotional roller coaster because you're so tired. You've spent so long making this thing, and it's just a roller coaster of emotions. And then you just pray that it all comes together.
Yeah. I so know. I get that. Yes. It's a love sort of hate sort of thing sometimes.
Yeah.
Isn't it? If it's not going to plan.
Yeah. And you have
the emotions just
and you have this feeling of, why am I doing this? Like, why do I put myself through this every time? Like, and then it all happens and it's all good, and then you go, oh, that's why it feels good.
Yeah. Yes, that it is. And maybe we're like some sort of, crazy, I don't know what the word would be, some sort of adrenaline junkie.
Absolutely.
In a way, because you have those ups and those downs, and then when you're in that down, you're like, what am I doing? Why do I do this? And then you have that up and you're like, oh my God,
life's fantastic.
And, the world is fantastic.
How good are flowers? They don't die. They're like, things are amazing. Yes.
And then usually after you've had those stressful moments, you'll have someone pop into the shop and just say, how much they'd love to play with flowers all day, because it must be so relaxing.
If I had $1, I tell you, I could close my shop. It would just,
you'd be a millionaire.
Just all the older ladies that go, I'd love to do flowers when I retire, just play with flowers.
Mm.
Like, yeah.
And then sometimes they join those classes and it's not what they were expecting.
No, and like, I think a lot of people, I mean, there are a lot of hard jobs, and I'm not at all saying that what we do is in comparison to a lot of hard jobs. It is very fulfilling. It is very creative, but it is very taxing on the body. And I don't think a lot of people realize like what it's physical work, and, your wrists have carpal tunnel, and your hands are all ratchy and your back's sore, and Yes,
and you can't walk the next day after you've done a full setup because you've just been running around like an idiot. So maybe that's just me and I'm getting old, but it is definitely getting taxing
especially
on the body.
where we are, where it's so hot and you're doing a floral setup in winter, but you're still sweating. You're like, this is just awful.
Actually, that's a great point. People don't realize up here how hot it is in winter, especially, as you said, a ceremony that kicks off at 3. We're going to be there at 1 or midday in the middle of that sun, and
it's not a good time. And the worst thing is when you have to move things and everyone's there looking so beautiful and you're looking like a sweaty demon in the background going, I hope no one sees me looking like this.
I used to really worry about that. Because I used to always, before a wedding, I'd do my hair, I'd do my makeup, because I'm like, you need to look
good.
the best. You want to be professional. But then over the sort of, well, especially last year, not so much, because you go back and you do these relocations and you are like, you look worse once the makeup starts to melt. So I've sort of, no makeup is better. There's nothing to melt. And
it's just sweat. So we're just glistening. You're moving.
Yes, yeah. But hopefully we just get in and out, and they're just like, oh, that's crazy florist. The flowers are beautiful. It was worth seeing that crazy hot,
exactly.
Florist,
we hope so. That's the end goal.
Exactly. It's all about that end goal. Hey, well, maybe you don't want to share, but do you have any sort of exciting new directions or things that you want to sort of start investigating, with Sunday Jungle, or, what are your plans in the coming future? And, you don't have to go into too much detail if there are things obviously you don't want to
I am such an oversharer.
If you've got anything that you... Well, give us all the goss.
Good at keeping things to myself. So we are always... I'm always looking for the next thing. I'm always looking for more. And so we are planning on opening a second store, hopefully within the next 12 months. I'm not really sure on the timeline of that, but my end goal is to have, several florists and just, awesome. That's the end goal for myself and my husband, is to have a community of flower shops. So, and whether or not that involves incorporating
Sweet.
his skill set as a chef and combining the two, or we're just very much planning, like expanding. So yeah,
Yeah, good on you. I
scary.
think, that's sort of the way to go. And as you said, like it's sort of pretty much a
Mm-hmm.
family
Mm-hmm.
business with you and your
Mm-hmm.
husband there to support each
Yeah.
other. So, the sky's the
Yeah.
limit when you've got that. Just think big, give it a
Yeah.
go.
Always.
And that
Just commit and then worry about it.
well, have a bit of a plan going in, but sometimes it is just that leap of faith, as we were sort of talking about before we were recording. You get to a certain age where you're just like, you know what, I'm just going to give it a go.
Yeah.
Who cares what people
Mhm.
think, what they say? This is
Mhm.
what I want to do, and it
Yeah.
works for me and my family,
Yeah.
or just give it a crack. I think that's
Yeah.
great. And you've obviously come up with a really successful
Mhm.
blueprint
Mhm.
of the business. So then transferring that over into another
Yeah.
location, it's probably, not going to be that full on as when you sort of first established,
Oh
where you're at
gosh, yeah,
now.
that
So I
was
think
a
that's really
massive
exciting.
leap of faith in that first. Like, I guess I could kind of equate it to having children. Your first child is such a change, and then you have your second one. You're like, okay, I kind of feel like I know what I'm doing. Like, it's still scary, but I kind of feel like I know what I can do. I can do this.
Yes.
I've done it before. So yes,
Yeah, no, that's very
yeah.
true. I think that's great that you're looking at doing that,
Mm.
because we always want to see more, good
Mhm.
florists, out
Yeah,
there, so people
absolutely.
can sort of see, what a
Yeah.
fantastic florist is. Um, so
Mm.
as we sort of think about
Mhm.
finishing up, what would be the best way for people to reach out and sort of connect with you if they want to know more about like
Mhm.
yourself, or your business, or maybe they're a florist in Townsville and they're looking for a job? No, I'm just kidding. What would be the best way for people to connect with you?
I'm all over Instagram. Yes, we have
Yeah.
Sunday Jungle on Instagram. You can find us. All my staff have their own Sunday Jungle accounts as well, so they're worth following along.
Actually, I
Mhm.
noticed that I must be following one of the girls. Sorry, I
Yeah.
don't remember her name, but I think she did something weddings as well. Would that
Yes.
be right?
Yes. So Ali, my wedding coordinator, she's currently on maternity leave, which
Ah,
I'm
yes.
very sad but very happy. It's a very mixed emotional time.
Hopefully, will she be back in time for wedding season?
Yes, that
or-
is probably the one thing
Yes.
that she had planned perfectly.
She timed that baby
Absolutely.
well.
So she will be back. But yeah, she has her own wedding, Ali Sunday Jungle, where she predominantly posts all the wedding stuff that she does. So yeah, we're
Awesome. We will put those links
that
in
sounds
as well.
great.
When I figure out how to do the
Yeah.
show notes, we will put them in there.
Yeah, so we're all over Instagram. Also, we have a website, sundayjungle.com.au. But the main thing is just come in and visit. Just if you're in the region, if you're just driving past, I never pressure anyone to buy anything. So you can just come in and have a chat. That's fine.
Yeah. Hey, how about you tell them where they can
We
find
are,
you if they do know
yeah, we're in
Townsville?
Currajong at Otto's Warina. I feel like everybody who's a Townsville local knows Otto's. They know Otto's. So
Yeah.
we are literally in the best location. So you can come get a
Yes.
beautiful coffee. You can come get something from the bakery. There's so many beautiful little shops in there. Yeah.
They've done a really awesome job at curating, like, I don't know, cool little
Yes.
businesses and things that you
Yes.
want.
Well,
It has that market
it really
feel,
does.
doesn't
And
it?
I always call it the treat yourself arcade, because you can come and get your nails done. You can come get a sweet treat. You can come get a coffee. You can come get flowers. And very, very
Yes.
happy to be in the location we are, because it's perfect for us.
Yes, it is a
Yeah,
great spot.
definitely.
Yes. Are you opened? I should have asked that earlier. Are you open
Yes.
7 days? Or
I'm
what is
crazy.
yeah. Oh, wow. So you are open on Sunday.
And I joke that I have to be open on Sunday, because it'd be pretty rude if I was called Sunday Jungle and closed on Sundays. But yes, we are open 7 days a week.
Yeah.
So from 9 a.m. every day.
Wow, that is awesome.
Yeah, it's a big commitment, but
is
that's
awesome.
what you got to do.
You're a glutton
I
for
really am.
punishment. You are a better woman
I
than me.
know. Maybe I'm silly. I don't know.
No, that's great. So just before we wrap up, do you have anything else that you'd like to sort of share about, this beautiful industry or what you do, or, anything like that? If you don't, that's fine
I
too.
mean, it is such a beautiful industry, and I feel like it's so rewarding in so many ways. And there's so many little avenues and offshoots. And it's not just having a pretty flower store. There's so much to it that I think that you can broaden your horizons, and it can literally take you anywhere and you can do anything. So yeah, it's and I know a lot of florists who are a bit older, like my age, a bit older, tend to freak out when there's a new florist in town. But honestly, it is such an extensive industry that I feel like there's room for everyone. I feel like there's
Oh, I love to
yes,
hear that, because it is so much more about community,
yes,
and thinking about growing that,
yes,
there's enough people wanting to buy
yeah.
flowers or have events.
And we
that,
all offer something different. And it's so interesting to
Yes.
see, like, how my own staff, for example, have the same ingredients and they can all make something slightly different. And we're all like, it's a creative industry. It's very subjective. So yeah, I feel like there's definitely room for more and more like local businesses, more small businesses and less
no.
big industry, less supermarket flowers. That's more, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's with so many different things. If we were able to support small, whether it, even green
Yes.
grocers and butchers, and like it just builds such a more vibrant community for us as
Yeah.
consumers as well. Like, I couldn't agree. And yes, obviously the flower industry is the best industry to be in.
Like it just
So,
blows
totally
my mind
agree.
because it is so creative. But my gosh, like it's an industry. Like it is a full on industry. They're like it's not.
Yes. And you
Yeah.
you have traveled. You've seen. I assume you went to the markets and
Yes, did.
Yeah. So, like, you see that worldwide sort of global,
It's huge.
industry right
Yes.
there, and it's mind blowing.
It is, and then it puts things into perspective. You're like, oh my gosh, like flowers are. I mean, yes, luxury, but oh my goodness, like we all love flowers. Like everybody loves flowers, and we all need them in our life in some shape or form. So
Yes.
it's mind blowing what an industry it is.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you're in the
Thank
industry
you.
because, as I said, I do.
Nice.
I love what
Thank
you
you.
do.
Likewise.
It's great. I love your Instagram feed. It always
that's
makes me so
good.
happy when
Yeah.
I see those bouquets come up, and then you do little things with the staff, and I'm like, she's really good at this Instagram thing.
I just, what's really embarrassing when I do something and I put it out to the universe and I don't really look at it, and then I'll go to daycare and the daycare teachers will be like, saw your video. I'm like, no, don't. We can't talk about that's
Don't
another
tell me.
world. That's another Emily. We don't talk about that in real life because it's so
Yes,
cringe.
I'm very much like that. I don't rewatch things. I don't, and even with the podcast, because now I've got someone who edits it all for me. I suppose I probably should, but the ones I've recorded so far and done, I don't even want to listen to them. If that, I don't want to hear my voice.
That's another world. That's another Deb. We don't talk
put it
about
out
that,
there,
Deb.
and yes,
yes, it's very awkward in real life.
Well, that's awesome. Yes, Matt, it's the things you do. And it's a bit
absolutely,
fun,
it's all fun.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
I really appreciate your time. As you said, you did have to leave the shop this morning.
That's
and come
okay.
and join
That's
me,
all right.
so I really
I'm sure they're
appreciate
fine.
that. And as I said, I've been following you for ages, and I'm going to continue following you.
Thank you.
I'm excited to see, what you do next.
Yeah.
I'm very excited
who knows?
about
I'm excited too. Who
yeah.
knows? I don't think I really know. That's okay. We'll work it out together. No, thank you so much. I've really enjoyed this, and I appreciate you asking me. It's been fabulous.
Yeah. Thank
No
you.
worries.